This is Candid Conversations with Caroline and Chris.
Hello.
And we just want to say thank you. Hi, Caroline.
Hello.
So we want to say thank you to all the subscribers of our YouTube channel. And what else do you want to say?
The support, and I love the feedback on the comment section. I love that there are people even via text or Facebook and Instagram are suggesting the kind of topics they would like us to discuss. So it's amazing that also some content is coming from you, which is, it's growth and it's a good thing. We are thankful.
Absolutely, absolutely. Without you guys, our audience, we wouldn't be doing this as much as we are. And we want to just tell you that we appreciate you so much. And we want to say that keep sharing these videos with your people so that they get this information. At the end of the day, we want to reach as many people as we can. And we hope to keep on, getting your support.
Yeah.
And as well as, understanding some of these issues that we go through in a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So remember, like, share, comment, subscribe. That is our key thing. Mm-hmm. And we have some guests, of course, who will be showcasing the amazing information for you. Mm-hmm. We have, I think you're going to be talking to Esther as well. What are you going to be talking to?
We have Esther, and we're going to talk about grief, and it's a different angle on grief.
Grief.
Yeah. It's a different angle.
I'll also be talking to a gentleman by the name Kevin, and we're going to be talking on childhood traumas and how that eventually affects you in future, and just what you need to understand about all that. Mm-hmm. So those episodes are coming up. Watch this space, and of course, enjoy.
Hi guys, welcome to our YouTube channel with Caroline and Chris. Thank you for your support so far, your subscriptions, your comments and likes. So today we have a guest, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hello guys, my name is Esther, or some people call me Mystic Venus. I'm a literary activist, I'm a businesswoman, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a sister. I'm so many things in one. So besides being all those, I am a book vendor. I sell books at Mystic Venus Book Hub. So I'll first start by talking about books. But first, on to you.
She's a good friend of mine, but she's very strict with books. So if you don't read, mm-hmm. I think she has gotten every friend to read at least a book or two. So for today's topic, it's a sensitive topic that we thought was important to address. It's about grief. Mostly the unspoken grief, because we are used to when somebody says my brother is dead, my sister, sibling, such things. But today we want to focus on a different form of grief in form of child loss. And Esther is going to shed a light from her perspective of the knowledge she's gotten from books and also her own personal experiences.
Thank you. So I'll use my own story to expound more on how grief occurs. So I said I sell books. So first I'll explain how I got into the business. So before I started selling books, I owned a cafe, Mystic Venus Cafe. So while I was at the cafe, I used to read books a lot. And looking back, it is a way I isolated myself from other people. It was by that time, it was an escape for me.
Reality.
Before, escaping the reality that was there. And which reality was that? Before I had my first child, I'm a mom of two boys. The firstborn is 6 years, and my secondborn is a year old. So before I had these two children, I suffered miscarriages. So that experience made me start questioning who am I? Why is this experience happening to me? So the first thing that happens to you, no, in normal circumstances, as a woman, you assume everything is normal until you get to that point where you're trying to have kids, then it's not happening. And it makes you feel less of a woman. You start questioning, why is this happening to me? So when I suffered those 2 miscarriages, it made me isolate myself and get back into my own womanhood. Start asking, am I really complete woman?
Something wrong with me.
What is wrong? Because I remember the first time it happened, I was 3 months along. And when it happened the first time, I was not expecting it. You are excited to have a child and all that, you're prepared. So 3 months along, you get a miscarriage. And it suddenly hits you, not everything will go as you have planned. So with that loss comes grief. And because it was my first pregnancy and I was excited about it, I was looking forward to it. But now it is not there. And the first impact of loss is grief. Grief emanates from you having lost something you love so much. Otherwise, if you lose a pen, you'll not respond to it in that way. So grief comes as a natural response to somebody losing something they love.
Something they're attached to and
something they are attached to it. And let me just introduce here the aspect of grief when it comes to kids. When it comes to adults, we take grief in terms of things we love, like other people, mostly in a 2 heartbreaks, or you have lost somebody you love. But when it comes to grief in the concept of kids, it can be a toy. So children can suffer grief in terms of feeling that sense of loss and grief and sadness, and they start reacting in a not normal way for losing something they were so attached to. So grief is not, when it comes to adults, we explain it in terms of you have lost somebody you love or something you love. In terms of, adults value big things, So when it comes to kid, tunaona, it's something small, like just like a small toy. Because, for example, my son would lose a car, a tiny small car that we bought maybe for 50 shillings. But because of that attachment, we'll spend the whole night looking for it. Mommy, where is my car? He'll be disturbed even when he goes to sleep because something has been taken away from him. So in relationship to adults, our sense of loss comes as a result of losing somebody we love or something we value so much in terms of, Kenya
so
shillings,
the value attached to the thing is in equal representation to the amount of grief.
Exactly. So sometimes, for me, since I love books, somebody else doesn't value them as much. So for example, if I purchased a book that I love so much and I lost it, maybe I purchased it, let's talk about the new release by President Barack Obama. The book right now retails as 3,000 shillings. So in my mind, it's a lot of money. And if I go buy it, I've attached a lot of value to it. So if I lose it, I'll suffer that grief, loss, even though it will not be so much compared to losing a human being or something. So there's a variation in the intensity of grief that people suffer.
Depending on the item.
Depending on the item. So there are those natural stages that people follow when it comes to grief. So here am I, I've lost a pregnancy, I've gone back, I've tried again, I've lost it again. You suffer that, the grief becomes so huge that you don't, it is my reality. If I come and talk to somebody else about it, he won't feel it with that intensity. So I isolated myself. Here I am, I'm running a cafe, and I'm feeling that grief. It is so heavy on me. And everyone else you know, I didn't tell so many people. Not so many people knew what was happening, but those who knew could understand. But the few, even in relation to customers, when you're serving somebody, they don't know your reality, what is happening to you. But whatever is happening to you, your reality will affect the way you relate to people around you, the way you carry yourself, the way you handle your day-to-day business. So I've lost 2 pregnancies. I'm there at the cafe, I'm seated, I'm sobbing inside. When I go to bed, I cry at night, and I'm just in my own world. So what did I do? I started reading. I picked a book, I started reading. Prior to that, yes, I used to love reading. I used to love books, but not so much. You know, I was just like,
sometimes you're reading,
sometimes you get bored, you know. But then when this happened, I went into it full mode. Like, I would wake up in the morning, do the cafe stuff and all that. When I'm finished and done, I'm into books. I'm reading all the time, Then it got to a point I realized, here lies my answer. Here lies my answer. What I've been looking for is here. Because when you read, what happens is you forget your story for a moment. You get
more knowledge, you see more perspectives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For a moment, you get out of your own story.
Out of your village.
Out of your village.
Yeah.
You realize, by the way, I don't have to be limited by this one story.
Yeah.
So, after that, I decided this is what we need to tell people. They don't have to be limited by just their own story. Grief comes, and it's not limited to one person. Everybody experiences grief at one moment or another. So we need to be told that it's okay. And here what I'll emphasize is we don't tell people move on from it. There's no moving on from grief.
And I think we do that a lot.
We do that a lot.
Yeah, you should move on.
We should move on.
Very insensitive, but
it's very
most
insensitive.
of us are guilty of that.
We are guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. But I'll have to admit it's because this is what I saw people do.
You didn't know any better.
I didn't know any better. So when it comes to grief, when I meet somebody who is grieving, I pull back on what I'm supposed to say. Because now I know what I used to say before
was wrong.
Or it was inappropriate or insensitive. Like somebody has died, you come and tell them your loved one is in a better place in heaven. You know, that's not
how do you know they're in a better place?
But it's what everybody says.
Yes, and how do you know how I feel to tell me they're in a
I know.
Who told you they are not in a better place with me here?
Exactly. Yeah. And after all, you would want that person there with you, not in heaven. You know. So I used to say that. I'll take my example. I used to say that because I didn't know any better. But now I pause back, look at the situation. What does this situation warrant me? Do I have something to say? Or if I don't have anything to say, I just tell them, sorry for your loss. Just that. You don't have to add
be there for them the best way you can.
Yeah, if you need me for anything, I'll be here. I'll be here.
That's true.
But I think as a society, before we get to telling people that they're in a better place, you know, you'll have another baby, you know.
Especially that.
You'll have another baby.
Yeah. At least unaweza pata mtoto.
Yes, you know.
You know, generally when you're having a normal conversation, it actually sounds okay. But when you look back at it, you're telling someone who has lost a child that at least unaweza pata mtoto. Who are you comparing?
At least uko na wengine, you know.
Yeah, and unajua wengine ndio, but they are not the same. There's no one child, hata upate 15 kids, there's no one child who's like another.
True.
And I wanted to ask something on the same. I feel like when we talk about grief, ya watoto sana losing kids, I feel like the society, na hii itaenda sana kwa ma-auntie pale kwa church, they'll keep asking a couple, hey, ampati mtoto ama ampati mwingine, you know, such questions. What is your perspective on that? Because it happens a lot. Nobody will ever ask you, it's been 5 years, I don't know, do you even want kids? They just assume that ni mtoto mtaki kupata. And if you want kids, is there a problem? Because sometimes you're talking to a person, you see kama story ya Gabriel Union. Ni mtu miscarriages nyingi, try IVF for the longest time. And even after her sharing her story and her going the surrogate way, people still criticize it. So is there something that people can be told to sensitize them on that, or it is just a personal journey like yours that you have to get to a place and realize whether this is wrong and it is not in my place to tell Esther mtoto mwingine ni siku gani or such things?
So first, us being that way comes from the way we have been brought up. First, I know normally when a woman gets married, they are expected to have children. But now we are living in a different era where people can decide not to have children. People can decide we are not going that way. And
we are okay.
And it comes from us being used to people getting married and having kids. And now we are faced with a different perspective where people can get married and not have kids.
It's not by default. It's not something article set like that.
Yeah, and we are not used to this way. And it will take us a lot of effort to adjust to the fact that people can decide not to have kids. So it will take a shifting of perspective for us to get to that point of realizing people can get married and not have kids. People can decide not to get married, and just be okay being single. So as a society, it will take us a lot of effort to shift from the perspective yenye tumezoea to this new perspective we are being exposed to. And when you judge somebody, for example, I've met you. Hey Caroline, how are you? And I know you've been married for some time without having kids, but I have children. I tend to assume my reality is the same as yours. So I assume since I'm having kids and since Waidera is a lady, she can easily, she should do that. We always emphasize for people to fit in.
From our I would call selfish.
Yes.
It comes from our selfish nature.
Yes.
Because as much as tunakataga, but every human being anazaliwa self. Look at a kid. It's me. So only that when you grow up, you have manners because they've been instilled with you, in you. Either ni kiboko ama ni kufunzwa. But there are those things that are constant. So I assume because I have 3 kids, I assume that is the reality of every woman who's been married 7 years.
True.
That's a very nice perspective.
So from my own life, there's this quote. Let me try to remember. We see life the way we are, not the way it is. So if I have kids, I'll come and assume Caroline should
also have
kids.
Yeah.
And because of that impulse, I'll not pull back and ask, why is Caroline not having kids?
What does she want for
exactly? Would she, for starters, is she having problems conceiving? One. Second, has she decided not to have kids? We don't pull back and ask, if Caroline doesn't want to be like me, why? And is it okay for her to be just the way she is? If she doesn't want to have kids, will I be okay with that? Because if you tell me you don't want to have kids, then I'll be like, why? Why? I mean, why?
Watoto na kazi unafanya nini?
Hiyo pesa yote unapelekea nani?
Watakuwa pale nyuma. Imagine hiyo pesa yote na hapana, hawezi kupata watoto. Kusema tu
we always assume because you don't want kids. We always assume ni juwezi pata. But there are people who don't.
But I'll be honest, I love kids. But I am so proud of people. I am so proud of people who don't want kids.
I know, it takes a lot of guts.
And it takes a lot of work. Me imagine, you don't want kids. Mimi napenda watoto. Like I would have even 4. I won't, but I would have even 4. But it's a lot of work. Sometimes you're like, did I sign up for this? You know, sometimes it's so overwhelming. You're like,
You're screaming all
I
over.
think I was not given the right memo. It's not working the way I thought it would. So imagine someone who did not want to have, and she or he are having kids because it's expected of them. I can imagine the amount of toxicity that these people will pass down to that generation, the cycle, because you don't want kids. So kama wenye wanapenda watoto, sometimes you'll do things to your kids and you know, take a few steps back and you're like, I should not have shouted at that kid like that. So you can imagine someone who does not want kids and is not even connected. I think Wanja Kawengi, she wrote a very long article, which was, we debated it on the book club for I think a whole day, because
it was a heated debate.
People don't understand. So upendi mtoto, umekuwa ukimtesa, something is wrong with you. Actually, something is not wrong with her. It is amazing for her to be honest about. She even says she's comfortable with her son being brought up with her grandmother because she knows she's not good at it. And I am so proud of people. As in, kama kuna mtu anawacha and you do not want to have kids, I am so proud of you. I am. So it takes a lot of guts in an African society to come out and say, by the way, I don't want kids. I just want a husband and work and influence people's life in a different way and tour the world. And I am okay with it. I think it's amazing.
It's a pattern. It's a pattern that we have been brought up with. You know, we have been brought up being told, go to school, do this, get a degree, get married, nini. But now there's a generation that is coming out to challenge all that. And of course it won't be easy. There'll be people firing up all that negativity and hate and, you know. So we need to get to a point where we accept that changing this pattern to even getting to the point of accepting that somebody can decide not to have kids.
And they are okay.
And they are okay.
Content.
And they are okay. Critical voice in you that you have been taught.
And it takes a lot of self-awareness.
It takes a lot of self-awareness. And that's what we need to teach people, to be aware of what they are saying, of what they are doing, so that at least they can, it's like pressing a brake pedal. You know, like we have been going this way for years, for centuries, but now we are getting to a point where we have to brake and pause. And it's actually what 2020 has been about. It's like God telling us, the way you guys are going, simameni kidogo, you breathe, because this pattern has to change. So even us sitting still and reflecting on our actions, we'll have to take a lot of self-awareness. And that's what the world is gearing to. People have to be aware of their actions, of what they are doing, because we are co-creators with God. We don't see Him, but He's here. He's creating with us. And if what we have been creating has been causing us a lot of pain and suffering, if somebody who doesn't want to have kids has suffered so much in this society because of their choices, then it means we have to create a new society that creates room for everyone. And that's what we need to do right now. Even when it comes to grief, we have to allow people to grieve openly. Because we don't give people that chance, the stigma, you know. And the reason why people isolate themselves is because they know they'll not be given that chance or be heard.
But I think it even starts from how we bring up our kids. Sasa unalia nini na wewe ni kijana? Okay, it's very different for men. It's another whole topic. But we do that a lot. Kama wewe ni msichana mkubwa, wewe ni kitu ya kufanya ulie. So it looks like a very small statement until you get to a place where you really want to break down. You want to call someone and tell them, I am not okay. I just need a hug. I just want to break down. You know, kama hiyo ya watoto. Sometimes the kids we call the rainbow babies. So it's safe to say your firstborn is a rainbow baby from the two losses. So when you get that baby, and sometimes you feel down from the thought of, watoto sahi wangekuwa na miaka. You know, you're a human being. You're not even allowed to do that because you're being ungrateful. Mungu amekupa wengine wawili. Mbona unafikiria wale wawili walipotea?
You're told to move on. But there is no moving on. We have to accept that we move with that grief. We move with those two babies who have gone. Even your loved one has passed away. There's no moving on from that.
No, you
It's
don't.
moving through life with that grief.
It's getting used to it.
Exactly.
It just gets better because you're getting used to the pain, not because you move on from it.
Exactly.
Si kitu unaweza ondokea, like you don't like this job, so you quit.
Where you quit.
It's not something you can,
And you interacted with this person for a very long time.
Yeah.
And you can't just wake up and say, I'm going to move on from, even for heartbreaks.
Yes.
And I think we do that a lot. We tell people, you broke up with your husband. What uniwengi? But I mean, I can't get back the 3 years I spent with this person. And my life can't be isolated from that story. Like I dated Mike, we went apart.
Yeah.
Like in my story, that part can't be excluded.
You cannot cut it off. You cannot talk about your life without. You can eliminate depending on your audience, but it's still in your mind.
Your head,
even when you're telling the story, you know that I am skipping this story, but it is
it
there.
happened, and you can't lie to yourself, you know. So telling people to move on is doing an injustice to them. We just
mtu mmoja, I feel it's very insensitive, and I see it a lot when people post, hey, there's this guy, we've been going through this, and then you see kwanza women. I feel bad because women, we are born to be nurturers and sensitive, and then you see kwani huo tu ndio mtu peke yake, you should move on, go get your money. This woman is venting. She's courageous enough to talk about it. There are people who are dying with it. So when you give, imagine kuna mtu wako kwa hiyo audience, they are depressed, they want to talk to someone, and then they see utashinda hapo kwani uko na miaka ngapi? How will they even talk to someone? So we carry on with the stigma.
We have created a society that is very selective, and that's why we are seeing a rise in depression and a rise in suicidal cases, because when we don't give people a chance to air, if I sit here and talk about that miscarriage, it will make you uncomfortable, you know, because first of all, it has not happened to you, but you can relate to it because you're human. You know, it can happen to you any time.
Or someone close to you.
Or someone close to you. But now, because we have denied people that opportunity of talking about what's happening in their lives, of talking about the pain, they isolate themselves in so many ways. So up and down on hizo addictions, because now they are in their own world. They have isolated themselves. Now, you don't want me to talk about what happened, because if I talk about miscarriages, they'll make you uncomfortable. So, because I don't want to make you uncomfortable, I isolate myself. I go into that seclusion mode where it's just my own story in my head over and over and over again. You get depressed, you get angry, you get all that. So when it comes to talking about grief, we, as the public, we have to accept to be uncomfortable first. You get? We have to accept that Carol will talk about suicide, and it feel
a lot of questions. I would rather be talking about shopping for a dress or some shoes.
So this is the aspect of creating space.
We have spaces.
Exactly, safe spaces. As a society, we have to create those safe spaces. Like, I'll come talk to you about those things, and you can sit there and listen. This is where the aspect of listening now comes in. You listen to it without being judgmental about it. Just because most people just want to be heard. They just want to come and talk. I want to come and talk about that miscarriage and offload and know somebody is listening to me. But when I can't do that, I isolate. So when I isolated, I started reading books. So books made me understand that
why people act the way they
do
in regard to loss and other things.
Exactly. It's because there's that. It's like being pressed down, like this energy wants to come out, because by then I couldn't talk to anybody. Shame. I'd feel ashamed. Wataniona aje sasa?
Wataona kama something is wrong with your sister. What is wrong with you?
What is wrong with me? You know, it's already a burden on me. Now add to it the fact that I can't talk to people about it. That is like a double tragedy. I can't talk to people about it, so I isolate myself. I go into that mode. So by the time Arthur was born, I was still struggling with that, because by the time we were getting to 3 months, I'm scared I'll lose it too. So I didn't connect,
With the baby as
with
you
the baby
should,
as you
yeah.
should, because I'm scared if I start getting
excited,
excited,
you'll be heartbroken again.
because immediately I got pregnant after 3 months with Arthur. And there was that grief, So after those 3 months, I was like, there's no need to get excited. It's too soon to get excited. So I hold back. I hold back even when it comes to
When you're afraid, if
connection.
you connect to the kid, then
And
it's taken away from you.
I've lived with this pattern of thoughts for such a long time, such that by the time the baby is born, I'm still enclosed in my own world.
Yeah.
I don't know how to connect with this baby. And changing that pattern of thought takes a lot of energy and effort. It's not like you just wake up and your thoughts have changed.
No, I'm free. You don't.
It takes a lot of time to change that pattern of thought. So you struggle with it. And if people could be given that chance to talk about it, it would be easier to manage. So when I started reading books, I realized it's because we are enclosed into that story of it happened, I experienced loss, I experienced grief, and I don't have anyone to talk about it. So I'm stuck. I'm stuck to this one story. And there's nobody else that is there to give me that
a hand and walk with you.
So, and the moment you're told to move on, and it's the only story you have. Imagine you have lost your husband, it's the only story you have, it's the only thing you valued, and when you come out, you're told to move on, and you don't have anything else.
So you're telling me to let go of the pain
of the only
and
thing,
let go of him or her in the process.
Yes. So the moment you tell people that to let go, to forget, to move on, they retract. They go back into their own self. And then everything else comes into place. Grief, depression, suicide, and all. They are all connected. It's because of that suppression. And if you can create those safe spaces, as we have said, if, for example, I had talked to people about miscarriages and my fears, I believe it would have been much better for me.
And it would have reflected even in how you connected with Arthur, especially his first day of life.
Looking back, I always have that ish of, oh my God, I didn't connect with him the first 1 year as I should have, because I was so stuck and so stuck up in my own pain. Like I'm still mourning all those losses, and now here I am. I have a child. And when your emotions get entangled into one story, zinakuwa held. So when you want to shift, and it takes a lot of effort, and the worst part is you don't know how to. You don't know how to shift from this story to a different story where it doesn't have to end like this.
Things can be better.
Things can be better. So I have a child. Here I am raising a child. I don't know how to connect. It's too soon for me. I haven't talked to anybody. When I go to bed, I cry. And sometimes when I look at my own child, I can see those imprints, those pain. Children, the way they absorb,
they pull the energy.
Exactly, they pull the energy. And I even recently noticed it with my second child. The moment I'm too angry or I'm too intense, they start crying. Everybody, and nobody understands why. My sister will ask me, why is he crying? And I would tell her it's because of me. It's because I'm too angry, I'm too anxious, I'm too intense, and he's feeling this energy that it's too strong, that he's not used to, and the only way he can communicate that is by crying incessantly and crying, and he can't talk about it. So, if we are aware about our emotions, about the way our thought patterns, that's the only way we can change them. You see, I've lost a child. I'm feeling the pain, the anger, and all those emotions, and I don't know how to shift to now I have a child.
Being in a better place.
Being in a better place because I'm not aware.
Yeah.
You know, every day I'm dwelling with this constant negativity in my mind that I've fed for so long. And now I need to change it and I don't know how to. So this is where awareness comes in. We have to learn how to be aware of our thoughts.
Because they are the strongest. The mind is the strongest. And we have some merchandise.
But of course,
Yes.
new t-shirts, looking nice. As you can see, we have, currently we have the black, and we have whatever color this is.
It's maroon.
It's maroon.
Yeah, it's
We
No,
you
not
know how
orange.
Dudes
Yeah.
and colors, man.
Yeah, it's
Yo.
maroon.
So maroon and black, we have that. So you know, if you're interested in purchasing some of this merchandise just to support us, let us know. And we'll be giving you more and more merchandise as we continue because we feel like we want to connect with you a bit more. So definitely watch that space as well.
Yeah.
And then before we forget, Chicken Baristo is hosting us for episodes.
Second season. Yeah.
So we are at Chicken Baristo, Nakuru. It's just next to Rift Valley Sports Club. You can come here for your best meals. They have the best pizza.
Yeah,
We just had pizza right now. I'm feeling nice.
Shakes.
And shakes, my goodness. The juices, everything is good. So you want to come down to Chicken Baristo. Nakuru is where we are at. This is Kenya. For all those, of course, watching from all over the world.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, guys. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.